أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما نافعا Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Reflections on the Risale-i Nur by Bediuzzaman Said Nursi podcast series. In this podcast, we will continue to read the second station of the 14th Flash. In this treatise, Ustad Nursi writes about the secrets of Basmalah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of God, the Merciful, the Mercy Giver, or the Merciful, the Compassionate. In the last episode, we began reading the first secret, and he says, as an introduction before this, that the secrets of Basmalah appeared to him in the form of a light, and he tried to capture that light by surrounding it with these secrets. The light, when it comes to the heart, does not have form, but in order to communicate, in order to convey the meanings contained in that light, one needs to put it into form, articulate it in language. So he tried to articulate it in language. He intended to have 20 to 30 secrets to surround the light, all of the light, but he was able to capture about 6 or so of them, and he writes them in this treatise. The first secret, we began reading this and we could not finish in the last episode, so we will continue. I will begin by reading the beginning of the first secret first, up to the point that we were able to cover in the last episode, and then I will read with explanations, clarifications, insights, reflections, inshallah. Birinci sır, first secret. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim'in bir cilvesini şöyle gördüm ki kainat simasında, arz simasında ve insan simasında birbiri içinde birbirinin numunesini gösteren 3 sikke-i rububiyet var. I saw one of the manifestations of, in the name of God, the Merciful, the Mercy Giver, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, as follows. On the face of the universe, or the cosmos, on the face of the earth, and on the face of man, or mankind, are 3 stamps of rububiyyah. This is translated in the Shukran Wahida translation as dominicality, and I had mentioned that I prefer lordship. One within other, like concentric circles, and each showing samples of the others. Concentric or interwoven. Biri kainatın heyeti mecmuasındaki teavün, tesanüt, teanuk, tecavüpten tezahür eden sikke-i kübrahi uluhiyettir ki Bismillah ona bakıyor. The first is the great stamp of uluhiyet, and this, again, I mentioned, I prefer not to translate, but if we have to translate, it can be Godhead, Godhood, or something I forgot in the last episode, which might be useful, divinity, right? The first is the great stamp of uluhiyet, or let's say divinity, which is manifest through the mutual assistance, cooperation, and embracing and corresponding or harmony to one another of beings in the totality of the cosmos. This looks to in the name of God, Bismillah, the first part of the Basmalah. The second, i.e. this meaning is contained. When it says this looks to, this meaning, the stamp of uluhiyat manifests in the mutual assistance, cooperation, embracing and corresponding to one another of beings in the totality. Here totality is a key word of the universe. is contained in the meaning of Bismillah. The second is the great stamp of divine mercifulness, which is manifest, or let me read the Turkish first. İkincisi, küre-i arz simasında nebatat ve hayvanatın tedbir ve terbiye ve idaresindeki teşabüh, tenasüb, intizam, insicam, lütuf ve merhametten tezahür eden sikke-i kübra-i rahmaniyettir ki Bismillahirrahman ona bakıyor. The second is the great stamp of divine mercifulness, rahmaniyet, which is manifest through the mutual resemblance and proportion and order and harmony and favor and compassion that are observable in the disposal and raising and administration of plants and animals on the face of the earth. So it was the face of the cosmos first, and it was primarily how things interacted with each other. Now it is about how God is disposing, raising, caring for, administering, organizing, and so on and so forth, the plants and animals, animate beings, primarily animate beings, not only, but primarily animate beings on the face of the earth. And he says, Ustad Nursi says, this meaning is contained in the name of God the Merciful, Bismillahir Rahman, the first two sections of the Basmalah. So we had read up to this point, and we will continue from there, inshallah. He said there were 3 steps, and the third step, sonra insanın mahiyeti camiasının simasındaki letaif-i re'fet ve dekaik-i şefkat ve şuaat-ı merhameti ilahiyeden tezahür eden sikke-i ulya-i rahimiyettir ki Bismillahirrahmanirrahim'deki Er-Rahim ona bakıyor. Then there is the exalted stamp of divine compassionateness. And here the word is rahimiyet, mercy giving. Rahim, or compassionate, is the word that we are using to translate Ar-Rahim. And rahimiyet is the noun form of this name of God subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then there is the exalted stamp of divine compassionateness or rahimiyet, which is manifest through the subtleties of. Now, as we come closer to the smaller unit, which is the face of mankind, the subtlety increases. In the first one, it was very general, and it was about the overall observable interaction of things. And the second one, it was smaller, on the face of the earth, and it was about God's oversight of caring for, disposal of, raising of, organizing of primarily animate beings on the face of the earth. Now we are looking at mankind, which is even smaller than the other 2 units, and here the subtlety increases, which is manifest through the subtleties of divine beneficence, fine points of divine clemency, and rays of divine compassion on the face of man's comprehensive nature. Now the word that's used for comprehensive nature is mahiyeti camiasının simasındaki. Mahiyeti camia. We are not thinking about each human being individually here, but rather we are thinking about mankind in general. We are thinking about the nature of, state of, situation of, circumstances of mankind in general. And when we look at that, we see subtleties of ra'fat, beneficence, and fine points of shafqat, compassion. And this is why I prefer to use mercy giver for rahim as opposed to compassionate, because there's another word out there, shafqat or shafaqa in Arabic, shafqa, which we need to render by compassion or compassionate. And these are important. Recognizing these subtle differences in connotation is important because Ustad Nursi builds an entire edifice of meanings on these connotations, on these words. Shafqat is a key word. It may be one of the 4 keywords to understand the Risale-i Nur. If we translated it as compassion and then Rahimiyat also as compassionate or compassion, then we lose that nuance. In order not to lose that nuance, I prefer to translate Rahim as mercy giver, which then corresponds to some of the interpretations that the Mufassirun, those who wrote exegesis of the Qur'an, suggested. Right? And I prefer to use compassion or compassionate for shafqat. But sometimes the position of the word does not allow us to use compassionate or compassion for rahimiyat, because rahimiyat is a noun and it's difficult to make a noun from mercy giver. I mean mercy giverness or mercy givingness, so it's difficult to render it. So sometimes we will use compassionate or compassion for rahim, but otherwise compassion is primarily shafqat in the Risale-i Nur, or in translating the Risale-i Nur. There was a tangent, so let me go to the beginning. Then there is the exalted stamp of divine compassionateness, rahimiyat, which is manifest through the subtleties of divine beneficence, fine points of divine clemency or compassion. Shafqat is the word, and rays of divine compassion, and here the word again is marhama, another form of rahimiyya, and it is ilahi, it is divine. All of these are divine, but the word divine in the Turkish is actually used for marhama only. Divine compassion on the face of, so which is manifest through the subtleties of divine beneficence, fine points of divine clemency, and the rays of divine compassion on the face of man's comprehensive nature. This looks to the compassionate in the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, or this looks to the mercy giver in Basmalah, in Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of God, the merciful, the mercy giver. Now, to understand these 3 points, and the first secret did not end, but I will have another tangent here. To understand these 3 points, we also need to understand what Ustad Nursi means by stamp here. He said that there is a stamp, right? Let me go look at try to use the exact terminology that he uses. There is a great stamp of divinity manifest on the totality of the universe, and then there is a great stamp of divine mercifulness manifest on the face of the earth, and then there is an exalted stamp of divine rahimiyat, compassionateness, that is manifest on the face of man's comprehensive nature. What does he mean by stamp? To understand this better, we are going to read a small section from the 22nd word, and a similar text can be found in an earlier one of Ustad Nursi's works in Mathnavi Nuri, but here it is somewhat easier to read from here, and we have the English language translation readily available for this part. This is the second station of the 22nd word, and in it the first flash. So the first flash of the second station of the 22nd word. Birinci lema. Tevhid 2 kısımdır. This is a really key concept. The affirmation of divine unity or monotheism is of 2 sorts. Tevhid, monotheism. This is another word to learn. Tevhid. to make one, not to make what is many bring together in one, but rather to refuse all else and single out one, as in La ilaha illallah. There is no God. Look around, there is no God in the universe but Allah. We rejected everything else when we singled out Allah as the only God, as the only deity worthy of worship. Tevhid iki kısımdır. The affirmation of divine unity or monotheism is of two sorts, and there will be a metaphor to help us understand this better. Mesela, nasıl ki bir çarşıya ve bir şehre büyük bir zatın mütenevvi malları gelse, iki çeşitle onun malı olduğu bilinir. For example, if the goods of a rich man arrived in a market or a town, there are, or like a bazaar, imagine an open space where people are selling things, right? Arrived in a bazaar or a town, there are two ways in which one would know that this merchandise is his. A rich merchant, his merchandise arrived in the town, in the bazaar square of the town. There are two ways that we would know that this merchandise belongs to him. Biri icmali amiyanedir ki bu kadar azim mal ondan başka kimsenin haddi değil ki sahip olabilsin. Bu kadar azim mal ondan başka kimsenin haddi değil ki sahip olabilsin. One is brief and simple, as with ordinary people. It is brief and simple as an ordinary way of knowing this, understanding this notion that this merchandise belongs to him. And it is to say, to think, no one apart from this merchant is capable of owning such a vast amount of property. We know all the merchants in the town. We know their capacities. We know how much capital they have. We know what they can purchase and bring to the town. And this is incomparably more than anybody else's merchandise. Then we know that this property can be no one's but this merchant's. He is the only one who can procure such a large amount of property and bring it to the town. So therefore we know that this merchandise belongs to him. Fakat böyle ami bir adamın nezaretinde çok hırsızlık olabilir. But if put under the supervision of an ordinary man, i.e. a man whose understanding of whom this property belongs to is in this ordinary way, under the supervision of such an ordinary man, much of this property, or not much of, there might be many instances of stealing from this property. So we took this person and put him there by the property as the guard of the property, and his understanding of the fact that the property belongs to this merchant is that nobody else in the town can bring such a large amount of property to the town. There can be many instances of robbery, stealing, under the guardianship of this guard. Why? Parçalarına çok adamlar sahip çıkabilir. Many people may claim ownership of parts of, not all of the property. We know that such a large property cannot be brought to the town by anybody other than this merchant, but people may come, thieves may come and say, well, I believe you, nobody can bring such a large property to the town other than this merchant, therefore this merchandise, all of this pile of merchandise belongs to the rich merchant in the town, However, this little part here, this little china bowl here, that is mine. It must have mixed in with the rest of the property. The rest is his, but this little bowl is mine, right? Many people, there may be many claims of ownership to parts of the property. So I guess we saw the problem with this. İkinci çeşit odur ki her denk üzerinde yazıyı okur, her bir top üstünde turrayı tanır, her bir ilan üstünde mührünü bilir bir surette her şey o zatındır der. İşte şu halde her bir şey o zatı manen gösterir. The second sort of monotheism, tevhid, is by saying or by reading the merchant's writing on every packet. When he was purchasing this merchandise, he went through every packet one by one and wrote his name on it. By recognizing his signature on every roll, and then he put his signature on them, and seeing his seal on every bill of purchase that are associated with the property, right? His writing, his signature, his seal. Ustad Nursi uses words yazı, turra, and mühür. Turra and mühür and sikke are very similar words that can all be translated as, signature or stamp or seal. Actually, sikke could be rendered with seal better. But anyways, the word we used in reading the first secret of Basmalah in the second station of the 14th Flash was sikke, stamp. And here, Ustad Nursi, in this metaphor, Ustad Nursi is telling us that a more elevated form of monotheism, right, relates to the metaphor of a merchant who writes his name, puts his signature, and places his seal or stamp on each and every item that he owns and brings to the town. So this is the second way we know that this merchandise belongs to this man. And as a result, everything, every item, each and every item in the pile of merchandise he brought to the town indicates that they belong to him. Everything in the pile belongs to him. They have a sign on them which contains a meaning which indicates that the property, the items in the pile, and therefore the entirety of the pile is his. İşte şu halde her bir şey o zatı manen gösterir. Here, everything in effect shows that person, points to that person, the one merchant who can have all this property. So he is the only merchant who can have the entirety of this property, but we also have an indication on each and everything that he is the owner of that thing, right? In this case, the thief will not be able to deceive the guard, because if the thief comes and says, look, all of this is his, I understand, but this little piece, this little china bowl here is mine, it must have mixed in, the guard can take the bowl, turn it over, and see at the bottom the seal of the merchant, and the thief will not be able to steal it. Aynen öyle de tevhid dahi iki çeşittir. Similarly, or in the same exact way, monotheism is of two sorts. And this is all we want, right? We want to know God. We want to excel in our monotheism, in our understanding of, in our internalization of, in our experience of Tawheed, in our experience of the unity, oneness of God. In the same way, monotheism is of two sorts. Biri tevhid-i ami ve zahiridir ki, Cenab-ı Hak birdir, şeriki naziri yoktur, bu kainat O'nundur. One is the superficial and ordinary conception of monotheism, in which the person says, Almighty God is one, He has no partner or like, and this universe, this cosmos, is His. Is there anything wrong with this? No, this is Tawheed. One who has this understanding, one whose heart affirms this statement is mu'min, is a believer, and inshallah, he is deserving of Jannah, the paradise. However, there is a danger in it. There is a danger in it. The person recognizes the entirety of the cosmos as the property of God, but then when you go into day-to-day interaction, his or her day-to-day interaction with his surroundings, that notion may be lost. I go to the mosque, I pray, I bow down, I lower my head to the ground, I put my forehead on the ground, and I say, I glorify God, I prostrate before Him, I worship Him, and then I come out of the mosque and I am sick. I go to the doctor gives me medicine, and I think that it is the medicine that cures me. No, we lost track here. It is not the medicine that cures me. This is the instance of stealing. I cannot give this property to the medicine. It is God who is the healer, ash-shafi'ah, right? God is the one who gives healing. He may be giving it to me through the medicine in the apparent form of things, right? But it is still He who is giving it, not the medicine. At the moment that I attribute healing to the medicine, I attributed His property to something else. The medicine was the thief, and I was that ordinary God who did not have a sophisticated or sounder understanding, conception of monotheism. İkincisi tevhid-i hakikidir ki her şey üstünde sikke-i kudretini ve hatem-i rububiyetini ve nakş-ı kalemini görmekle doğrudan doğruya her şeyden onun nuruna karşı bir pencere açıp onun birliğine ve her şey onun desti kudretinden çıktığına ve uluhiyetinde ve rububiyetinde ve mülkünde hiçbir vecih ile hiçbir şeriki ve muini olmadığına şuhuda yakın bir yakin ile tasdik edip iman getirmektir ve bir nevi huzuru daimi elde etmektir. The second is the true affirmation of divine unity or monotheism, which is, and there will come the explanation of which is, but I want to stop here for a word. In Turkish, Ustad Nursi says the second one is Tevhid-i Hakiki. Tevhid-i Hakiki, and it is translated as true monotheism, true affirmation of divine unity, and that is correct. However, the word Hakiki relates to the word Tahqiq, and in Ustad Nursi's usage, especially here, that connection, that relationship between the word Hakiki and Tahqiq needs to be preserved, because elsewhere and in many places Ustad Nursi offers us the notion of Iman Tahqiqi and Iman Taqlidi. So there is a couple. There are two words that are coupled together, and they are not antonyms, but they indicate different meanings. of the same concept. So Tawhid Hakiki relates to an analytical, maybe we can say, an analytic form of monotheism, i.e., I analyzed the information that came to me with my intellect, and then my heart affirmed what my intellect concluded. And there is certainty in this. I came to this conclusion. In the Tawhid Taqlidi, on the other hand, it is imitational. Taqlid means imitation. I was born to a family. I saw my parents saying, La ilaha illallah, there is no God but Allah. There is no God but God Almighty. I saw them saying this. I memorized, I kept saying it, and that is fine. And then I internalized it. But I did not analyze the information that comes to me from my surroundings. Therefore, if my knowledge was challenged, I may be under danger. I may be in danger of losing my conviction. Now, in a society, in a community where this notion is not challenged, like say, 17th century Ottoman Empire, a conservative village somewhere in central Anatolia, the notion of Tawheed that people have is not challenged, therefore there is no problem. You can live your entire life and then die as a Muslim in a state of monotheism. However, in situations like the one that we are living in, where positivism and scientism and capitalism and atheism and agnosticism and so on and so forth, all sorts of philosophical currents and life circumstances are challenging our faith, then we need to have the sounder form of monotheism, which Ustad Nursi here is saying Hakiki. So this does not mean that the other Tawheed, other monotheism was not true. It is true too, but this is analytic. This is analytic. This is, maybe we can say, investigational. Right? In this one, we have went through the investigation and we have realized the reality behind what we see, behind the information that we are processing. Right? So the second is the analytic monotheism, which through seeing on everything the stamp of his, God's power, the seal of his rububiyyah, lordship, and the inscriptions of his pen, it is through this, it is to open a window directly to his light from everything. So everything becomes a window. I again have my cup of tea, and I look at the cup, and the cup becomes a window. Everything, the desk, the floor, the tree, the flower, my hands, my fingertips, the prints of my fingertips, my lips, everything becomes a window opening to his light. And by seeing that light, the second form of analytic monotheism, by seeing that light is to confirm and believe with almost the certainty of seeing. Shuhud. We may not be seeing God, and we cannot see God, right? But we see his signs, and then sometimes, through tasawwuf, through disciplining the soul and the heart and refining one's esoteric internal senses, through all of this, one can witness higher levels of the signs of God. We see his signs in the material world, but there is a world of meanings. As we mentioned before, there are multiple worlds, concentric worlds. And by refining those senses, one can be elevated to see more of these signs, and this is usually what shuhud indicates in Sufi, in the terminology of Sufism. So we may not reach that level, maybe reach that level, but it is for the elite, right? And faith is for everybody. We may not reach that level, but through this process of tahqiq, analysis of the information that we can gather from our surrounding, from the world that we are living in, we can excel to a point in which we can attain a perpetual awareness or a continual sense of presence before the divine, before God, that comes close to witnessing, that comes close to shuhud. And again, it is the stamp, the seal, the writing, the inscription, the sign that we see on each and everything that will help us attain that state of, let's call it almost witnessing, continual presence, huzuri, continual presence before our Lord. So this is why the stamp is so important. And one can think of, I would say 90% of the Risale-i Nur as openings of those stamps before our eyes, before our intellect, right? And the first secret of the second station of the 14th Flash, Bediuzzaman Said Nursi, is opening. This is such a profound issue here. Opening before our eyes, showing us, when I say opening, like showing us 3 of those stamps, 3 of the probably the most prominent, most obvious stamps. So let's go back and read the first secret of the second station of the 14th Flash, again with this understanding, with the understanding of what he means by a stamp. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim'in bir cilvesini şöyle gördüm ki, kainat simasında, arz simasında ve insan simasında birbiri içinde birbirinin numunesini gösteren 3 sikke-i rububiyet var. I saw one manifestation of Bismillahirrahmanirrahim as follows. On the face of the cosmos, on the face of the earth, and on the face of mankind are 3 stamps of lordship, one with one rububiyet, one within the other, and each showing samples of the others, or each pointing to the other, each containing the notions of the other. Biri kainatın heyet mecmuasındaki teavün, tesanüt, teanuk, tecavüpten tezahür eden sikke-i kübra-i uluhiyettir ki Bismillah ona bakıyor. The first is the great stamp of uluhiyet, divinity, which is manifest through the mutual assistance, cooperation, and embracing and correspondence of all beings in the totality of the universe. Again, totality is a key word in each of these steps. In the totality of the universe. And the meaning, this meaning is indicated, contained in Bismillah, in the name of God. Now it will become more clear as we read through the second station of the 14th Flash, why one is contained in God, the other is contained in Ar-Rahman, and the other is contained in Rahim. The more general, the more we go to the beginning. Allah. Allah is Lafzul Jalal, right? Is the name of God, the private, specific, special name of God. And it relates to all of his names, so therefore it's the most general. And then Ar-Rahman, it is more general in this understanding. It's more general than Ar-Rahim. So this will become more clear inshallah. İkincisi, Küre-i arz simasında nebatat ve hayvanatın tedbir ve terbiye ve idaresindeki teşabüh, tenasüb, intizam, insicam, lütuf ve merhametten tezahür eden sikke-i kübra-i rahmaniyettir ki Bismillahirrahman ona bakıyor. The second is the great stamp of divine mercifulness, rahmaniyet, which is manifest through the mutual resemblance, proportions, orderliness, harmony, and favor and compassion. Right, the word for compassion here is marhamet, and the disposal, caring for, oversight, and administration of plants and animals on the face of the earth, and this meaning is contained in the name of God, the Merciful. Bismillahirrahman. Sonra insanın mahiyeti camiasının simasındaki letaifi re'fet ve dekaik şefkat ve şuaat-ı merhameti ilahiyeden tezahür eden sikke-i ulyâ-i rahimiyettir ki Bismillahirrahmanirrahim'deki Er-Rahim ona bakıyor. Then there is the exalted stamp of divine compassionateness, rahimiyet, which is manifest through the subtleties of divine beneficence, fine points of divine shafqat, compassion, and rays of divine compassion, here the words marhamat, on the face of man's comprehensive or mankind's comprehensive nature. This meaning is indicated in Ar-Rahim, the compassionate, in the Basmalah, in Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So the word compassionate or the mercy giver in the name of God, the merciful, the mercy giver, indicates this meaning. Let's read through and then inshallah finish the first secret. Demek Bismillahirrahmanirrahim sahife-i alemde bir satır-ı nurani teşkil eden 3 sikke-i ehadiyetin kutsi ünvanıdır. That is to say, in the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, or the merciful, the mercy giver, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, is the sacred title, Qudsi Unwan, holy, sacred title of 3 stamps of divine oneness. Is the sacred title of 3 stamps of divine oneness, which form a luminous line on the page of the word and a strong cord and shining filament. In Turkish, the second part was in a different sentence. Ve kuvvetli bir haytıdır ve parlak bir hattıdır. And a strong cord and a shining filament. We need to open this up more too, because some meanings again may be lost in translation, and these are key meanings. Again, the second station of the 14th Flash is one of the more advanced texts of the Risale-i Nur that therefore contains more advanced meanings, and it is really difficult to convey all of them in straight translation, especially if a set of terminology has not been already established in the language to which we are translating. In this case, that is English. And to be fair, almost all of these words that contain such subtle nuances were incorporated into the Turkish language and into many other languages of Muslims, like to Persian, to Urdu. I don't know Malay and some of the other languages, but I'm sure that is going to be the case in those languages too. They are incorporated into these languages from Arabic, and therefore, inshallah, one day we will hope that these words that were chosen by God to describe Himself to mankind in the Qur'an will be incorporated into English too. And until that point, one who wants to excel in this knowledge should pay some attention and try to learn these words. And once they are internalized, they will become gateways to lots of meanings in their intellect, in their minds, and in their hearts. So, that is to say, Demek, we are summarizing and providing the upshot of the first secret of Basmalah, Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. That is to say, in the name of God, the Merciful, the Compassionate, the Mercy Giver, is the sacred title of 3 steps of divine oneness. Here the word that is used for oneness is ahadiyat, ahad. And probably all Muslims who are praying their daily prayers will be using this word at least a few times on a daily basis when they recite, or if not on a daily basis, they will use it many times in their daily life when they recite قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ Surah Al-Ikhlas. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. As we had mentioned before, Ikhlas means sincerity in purpose, purity of intention, and purity in general. And this chapter of the Qur'an, which is the third from last chapter of Qur'an, was named Surah Al-Ikhlas, the chapter of Ikhlas, because it describes God in such a succinct and profound way, in such a pure way. And therefore it's named Surah Al-Ikhlas. And in it we have the word ahad. Qul, say, Huwallahu, God is ahad. God is one. Now, it could be God is one, as in Qul Huwallahu wahid, right? Huwallahu wahid, which is also correct, which is a name of one of the names of God too. But and it also means one. So the word that could be used here for one could be wahid or ahad, and they both mean one, but there are subtle differences between the two, and Ustad Nursi will be providing us with one of those subtleties in the second station of the 14th Flash here, as he provides us those secrets of Basmalah. And it is a primary difference in connotation that then pervades into our understanding of all of God's names and attributes as they manifest on the creation. So it's a very key concept. Simply translated, it means oneness. And all these 3 steps that we talked about on the face of the cosmos, on the face of the earth, and on the face of mankind, he says, are sacred titles, or as they are indicated in Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, right? Therefore, these 3 names that are indicated in Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, i.e. Allah, Ar-Rahman, and Ar-Rahim, are sacred titles of stems of divine oneness. They are titles that we can read in a stamp, right? In a sikkah, right? So a stamp may be a shape, right? The children play with stamps and they can stamp shapes of animals, shape of fruits, apple, and so on and so forth. But when we say sikkah in Turkish and in Arabic too, a sikkah will contain the name of the person in whose name the stamp is placed, right? So this is a title that is inscribed on the stamp. The stamp is on the face of the cosmos, the stamp is on the face of the earth, the stamp is on the face of mankind, and in the stamp is written Allah, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim as sacred titles of the owner, the possessor and caregiver, and the guardian, and the Lord, and the God of all of these things. And these stamps are stamps of divine oneness. It is his name, and it also indicates that no one else but him. And as I said, it will come, but briefly, when we use ahadiyat as opposed to wahidiyat, or ahad as opposed to wahid, what we get from that is the concentration of all of the names and attributes that whose manifestation results in the creation and appearance of the object, of the phenomenon, of the thing that we are observing, that we are looking at, together on that object. The concentration of all of those names together on that object, and them together pointing to one source. This is ahadiyat. When we say wahidiyat or al-wahid, again, God is one, we refer not to the concentration of all of those names on one object, a concentration of the manifestation of all of those names and attributes on one object, but rather on generalities, on types, on kinds, on, like say, mankind or animal kind, on the totality of things. And when we say the totality of things, this is relative. If I say tree in relation to plant, this is a specific, this is a particular, and this is from logic. In logic, there are these concepts of particular and general, and Ustad Nursi takes those two concepts from the study of logic and applies them to theology. He is not the only person who does, but he does it in such a masterful way. And by applying those two concepts to theology, he opens up many secrets of knowledge of God, divine knowledge before us. This is one of them, right? So a tree in relation to plants is a particular. Plants in relation to animate beings is a particular. Animate beings in relation to things, all things, everything, is a particular. However, a tree in relation to pine or willow or plane tree is a general. Pine in relation to tree is a particular. Pine in relation to a particular species of pine is a general. A particular species of pine in relation to one individual pine tree that is standing on a specific place that we can point to and say, this tree is a general, and this tree in relation to pine is a particular. So that's clear. Ahadiyat is the concentration of all of the names and attributes that are manifest on a specific object together, and because of that manifestation, then pointing to the one. Remember at the beginning we said that we can see that stamp on each and everything. right? Each and everything, each and every phenomenon in the creation is actually a manifestation of God's names and attributes. And again, here the word we are using is ahadiyat, oneness. Yani, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm sorry. Let's say something about the use of the word strong cord and shining filament, right? These three stems together form a luminous line on the page of the world, a strong cord and a shining filament. What do we mean by this? Right, on the page of not the world in the sense of the earth, planet earth, but world in the sense of existence. Alam is the word that is used here. So on the face of the cosmos, let's say, right? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim is the sacred title of three stems of divine oneness, which form a luminous line on the page of the cosmos, on the page of existence. What does this mean? This means that the cosmos is a page with written text on it. The cosmos is a book to be read. Kitab-ı Kebir-i Kainat, the great book of the cosmos, or the great book of the universe, is the way that Ustad Nursi refers to it. And it is not his, he is not the one who invented this phrase. It is used before, both in Muslim and Christian contexts, and it seems it was transferred to the Christian context, through the translation of Muslim texts right before and during the Renaissance. The cosmos is a book to be read, right? And on that book, on a page of that book, we see these three steps, and they provide us, they constitute a luminous line. It's a shining line that you cannot miss. If you are reading it with the right state of mind, and if your eyes are sound, and if your heart is sound, and so on and so forth, you cannot miss. It is a shining line on that page. It is a strong cord. Why a cord? Because it connects each and everything to God. Right? It is like a cord. In the realm of meanings, you can, if we had access to the realm of meanings, we could see these steps as cords that are tying, connecting each and every object straight to the Lord. So if you go back to our metaphor of the merchant whose merchandise came to the town, not only that his stamp is inscribed or stamped on each and every object, but there is a filament or cord that is tied to him. He holds all of them in his hand, and if the thief wanted to come and take it away, if he pulled it, he could not pull it. He could pretend to hold it in his hand, and he could deceive the guard who is looking at, as if he is holding it, but he could not take it away. In reality, no thief can take nothing from the Lord. No medicine can, in reality, steal the function, the act of healing from God. We may deceive ourselves. We may be deceived to think that that is the case, but that is not the reality. We would only be misperceiving reality. We would not be changing reality. Yani Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, yukarıdan nüzul ile semere-i kainat ve alemin nüshai musavvarası olan insana ucu dayanıyor, ferş-i arşa bağlar, insani arşa çıkmaya bir yol olur. That is, through being revealed from above. And here the word above obviously is metaphorical, right? God sends things down, right? This does not mean that we attribute place in space to God. This is metaphorical. It can be understood as the elevation of rank, or it can be understood as things being revealed by God somewhere high above in the cosmos and then coming down to earth, which, like, God's word is first revealed on Arsh, and then Gabriel alayhi salam takes it from there and brings it down to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is nuzul. This is sending down. This is coming down, right? But this is not an indication of God attributing place to God in space, right? So that is through being revealed from above. The tip of Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim reaches all the way down to man, mankind, who is the fruit of the universe. And this is another concept. Inshallah, we will open it up later. We are already over an hour. Mankind, which is the fruit of the universe and a miniature copy of the cosmos. It is a way for man to it connects the lower world, Farsh, to the divine throne, Arsh. It is a way for man to ascend to the divine throne. There is that rope, there is that cord. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is a cord. And we said it connects each and everything. It connects mankind to God too. So if you hold that cord and keep climbing and climbing and climbing, it connects the mankind to the divine throne. It provides a cord, a path to ascend to the divine throne. In one word, in one phrase, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, which we say at the beginning of everything as Muslims. And we are supposed to say, and we say at the beginning of everything. That means at the beginning of every act, we have a way to ascend to the divine throne. And that's such a blessing for the fruit of the universe, mankind as a fruit of the universe. If you imagine a tree, right? The tree is a fruit, say an apple, is connected to the tree with a stem, and then the stem connects to the branch, and then the branch connects to a larger branch, and then that connects to the stump, and the stump connects to the roots, and the roots connect to the earth, right? It is the stem that this whole line that continues. There are fibers that are continuing throughout that entire edifice, right? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is the filament, the fiber that connects the fruit, which is mankind. And again, we will understand why we are referring to mankind as fruit later on, inshallah. It connects the fruit to the roots, to the source, to the origin, to the source of everything, to the originator of everything, to the creator of everything. Inshallah, may God help us understand these meanings and realize them and actualize them in our lives. May God help us realize this meaning each time we say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, as we walk on the face of the earth, as we interact with other fellow humans in the mankind, as we turn our eyes and look at the sky at night and see the stars and breathe in the cosmos. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim wa akhir da'wahum anil hamdulillahi rabbil alamin.